first thing I want to say is, as everyone's been doing, is just correct the record. Kerry said that I was a man of the people. It turns out that's true only if the people reside very, very close to downtown. And for too many of the rest of the people, they felt that I might be better suited to other activities. And my two-and-a-half-year-old son, Michael, so far at least agrees. While I may not be enjoying all of the possibilities and the privileges that go with being in public life, I'm enjoying in a much greater degree than I might otherwise have all of the privileges that come with being a dad, and I think that's something that most of you can relate to. I appreciate so much the chance to be here today at the end of a day when you have all worked so hard to put on the table and to try and find solutions to the very many challenges which you are confronting today. But I am here to try as best I can to ask you to elevate your vision to the future that we all believe in, and the future that we must all therefore fight hard to see take hold. For there are risks here in today's Ontario to the very hard work that all of you have been involved in since the Government of Ontario moved forward the feed-in tariff program. Now, Kerry's given me way too much credit, and full and appropriate credit is due. And in every speech I think that I gave as Minister of Energy and Infrastructure, full credit is due not to the Premier of the Province of Ontario alone, but to the people of the Province of Ontario, who in 2 successive elections supported a man who led a party that became a government that believed in the idea that here in North America we should lead with the largest climate change initiative, that we should, for the sake of the 2,200 people that die annually prematurely from poor air quality, that we should as a society link arms and take the step forward to eliminate coal-fired generation. And when we seek to figure out what are those messages that resonate most clearly with the public, in the next 100 days or so when we will turn on to full-fledged campaigning in this province of Ontario, I encourage all of you to talk about the solar industry and about renewable energy generally with the issues that come to mind, issues associated with economic progress, issues associated with environmental attributes, but do not be afraid at any time, do not be afraid to relate this very, very closely to the emotional issue that is called life. For the reality is clear that Ontario is now producing summer times with fewer smog days than we were previously. For the evidence abounds that frankly coal has been reduced really just to being a backup to natural gas. That if you look at the ISO website on a day in and day out basis, renewable energy is outpacing any use of coal, and very real questions are being asked by some NGOs about whether we need any coal-fired plants to be operating in today's Ontario. And that is something that has been accomplished, as I said before, not because of a government at Queen's Park or a Premier Dalton McGuinty who believed in the elimination of coal, but because on an aspirational basis, the people of the province of Ontario in 2 successive elections agreed that that was something, a goal worth seeking to attain. And we've made great progress on that in the province of Ontario. And now we have so much more promise as well, promise of an economic nature. And that is something I think that it is time that we do a little more effective job, the collective we, in speaking up in favor of. It seems to me that there was a newspaper report, a story by Tyler Hamilton, just a few days back, based on an interview with the most senior executive from Samsung Corporation. And it has become, in my view, a little too commonplace amongst some of us who support our form of renewable energy or our projects that we could do that at the same time bad-mouthing some of our competitors who might have had this advantage or that advantage. But there was one thing in there that I seek for all of you to embrace. And it is the message that here in Ontario, in one of the most advanced countries in the world, one of the countries of the G7, that when a contract is entered into by an organization associated with a government, that we should all have the confidence that such a contract will be abided. And I ask all of you, I understand that in the environment that you're operating in, when approvals are slower than they need to be, when there are arbitrary decisions made about how much capacity a transformer station can take, when there's an unequal responsiveness on the part of local distribution companies, when there are 30,000 applications and yours doesn't seem to move as quickly as it should, I certainly understand the frustrations associated with that. But I ask all of you, as we focus in on this period 100 days or so from now, when decisions will be made, not just about your economic interests, but about the economic interests of my son and about the environmental interests that we all share as Ontarians, that it is time for all of us to seek to find the commonality and to align around those messages. To go to doorsteps, not just rely on the idea that we're going to put a couple of advertisements in a newspaper and maybe even cobble together enough dollars to put an ad on the radio or on television, but to actually understand that at stake is something so important that in return the expectation is that you must roll up your sleeves and perhaps for some of you engage in a level of political activity or a reliance on social instruments like Facebook or whatever you can avail to do what is necessary to fight for the future prospects of this industry and of this sector. The people of the province of Ontario have staked us to a great lead. I just spent time in the United States and watched one more time President Obama trying to ignite the green economy after billions of dollars of government stimulus over the last number of years. But even in Florida where I was, there was no sign of solar to be found. But today when I drove along the Gardiner Expressway out to a meeting at Toronto Airport, not only did I see installations that had been completed now a few months back, but I saw on the roof of the Horse Palace at the CNE the workers of today and tomorrow installing the next set of possibilities in the province of Ontario, the next capacity to harness what Mother Nature offers, to give us the freedom of energy supply and security, something much more deeply in the minds of the people since the unfortunate events of Fukushima. And certainly as a result of the kind of influence of events in the Middle East have on things like fossil fuels. It seems to me that we are here in the province of Ontario feeling a little bit back on our heels, threatened for sure by the politics of the moment, but armed better than ever with the very best story to tell. The story of a people who align behind the idea that we should lead, not follow. The story of a people who have together eliminated coal-fired generations when others talk about that as something that is impossible. The story of people, of community college programs growing, and of young people saying, that's an industry and a sector that speaks to my values and to my pocketbook. The story of people here in the province of Ontario enjoying today more independence and greater assurance that on all of those days when others who rely on fossil fuels or otherwise might be threatened by their supply, that here in Ontario, we've staked a claim, we've got out in front, and we are determined to make sure that those gains are not given back. You know, in life and politics, I found that the easiest thing to do is to take a precedent to your colleagues in government and to say, they've done it there, and they've done it there, and they've done it there, so we should do it here. That's me too, and that works okay, I suppose. But when you want to harness the opportunities, not just to take advantage of somebody else's skill set, but instead to actually develop them here, that those early adapter spoils are what we're in it for here in the province of Ontario.